Why the A Song of Ice and Fire books are more worth your time than the Game of Thrones show by Luke Jackson. To start, A Song of Ice and Fire is a series of 5 books about the world of Westeros. The series was created by George Martin. He is still currently writing the series, and there is to be 2 more books to come out. The books were taken to film and created as a show. The show is now finished and has a runtime of 8 seasons. For just a little bit more time, you get a whole lot more. 70 hours versus 76 hours. The Game of Thrones show takes 70 hours and 15 minutes to watch in total. According to www.howlongtoreadthis.com, the average reader reads about 300 words per minute. If you take this stat into account, the books will take you about 76 hours and 8 minutes to read. After giving up 70 hours to the story, an extra 6 will not kill you. The books also dive into the story in a way more expansive way than the show. This gives you more knowledge about the characters in Westeros as a whole, but we will get into that more soon. On top of this, books give you an extra advantage that shows do not. Some pros to reading are reduced anxiety, knowledge enhancement, vocabulary expansion, analytical thinking improvement, and better ways to improve your writing. Next, there is simply more detail in the books. The characters are developed in a way that the show cannot achieve. Since you can put more words onto pages than you can put words into show, there is more that Martin was able to showcase. Martin specializes in developing characters in ways that make you feel for them. You are sad when characters are sad, you are angry when they are, you feel a sense of triumph when they are doing good. There are many histories brought up in the books that the show did not have time to touch on. You get key histories of the world of Westeros that make the story richer. You get family backgrounds and histories that don't get the light that they deserve in the show. From my findings, there are 2,302 characters named in the books, while in the show there are just about 500. This proves how much richer the storyline is in The Song of Ice and Fire. Obviously, not every character has a huge story, but this proves that the histories are deeper in the book and the detail is much greater. The book captures your emotions. The book also captures the emotions of the characters in a way that amazes me. Like I said, you'll feel for these characters. The third-person narrator in the books is able to tell you how these characters are feeling. This along with the first-person dialogue sets it apart from the show. Third, the show is not accurate. The writers David Benioff and D.B. Weiss chose to go in a different direction than Martin did. This is okay, but it is not the true story. They stayed away from story arcs that Martin made and left out key details that should have been included. I feel like this is an injustice to Martin, especially because he has the true story. He made it, not D&D. They also could not create a perfect Westeros due to lack of technology and money. The castles in the books are portrayed a lot bigger and differently in the books and this is something the show could not achieve. They also had to make the characters older due to the inappropriateness of the books portrayed. So, for example, in the books, some characters are like 8 and 9, but in the show, those characters are more like 14 and 15. Or some characters are about 15 and 16, and in the show, they are actually like 20, 21. And also, due to the people that they casted, they seem even older because the people they casted in real life are in their 20s. Perspectives. Last, the show's acting was good, and they cast amazing roles, but it is impossible to create the feelings and personalities it is impossible to create feelings, personalities, and perspectives that the books created. As stated, the books were in first-person dialogue and third-person narration. This made it impossible for the shows to tell the viewers how the characters were feeling and why, unless they would have included a narrator, which it did not. The way I felt for Catelyn Stark in certain chapters made me want to cry for her, which is not something I felt in the show. Arya Stark is a badass in the show, but it does not show how much of her being a kid still shows that it does in the books. She is still jealous in the books. She doesn't understand certain parts of the world like a kid would, and that's not something that showed much in the show. In the books, I truly understand why the characters feel certain ways and the sheer pain that they go through. To wrap up, the show was great, but it did not emulate what Martin wrote. Martin wrote a masterpiece with a deep history and expansive lore. He introduced more characters, gave them more of a purpose, and showcased the best possible fantasy universe. These are the reasons why I recommend reading the books over the show. You will get more out of it from a knowledge standpoint and from a creative standpoint. The World of Westeros should be read. Martin deserves more respect and needs a bigger light to be shed on his work that he did with the Song of Ice and Fire. Just 6 hours more of your time will get you more out of the story and in life.